Well, the Dolphins have a locker room situation going on. James Franklin is out of a job, and we've got a report from the disaster that was Jets and Broncos from London earlier today. It is the Sunday pig pile, so welcome aboard. How we doing, everybody? Happy Sunday evening to you. We do this each and every Sunday. This is your home for football goodness. As Scott Pioli once told me on the SiriusXM show, weekday morning, 6 until 9 Eastern time, happy football, everybody. Happy football. So glad you're here with us. Make sure you are subscribed. That way you get notified when we go live. If you're on YouTube watching right now, make sure you are subscribed by clicking on this button below me and spread the love, okay? Let everybody know this is the place to be to recap all of your good NFL stuff up until kickoff of the Sunday night game, which should be phenomenal coming up here in about an hour from now. We will go out to London. That's right, the UK, where we're going to Brandon Cristal, who covers the Broncos. He was there on tap earlier today as the Broncos get a win to move to 4-2, and the Jets are an absolute nightmare. We'll get to your comments, your beam-ups later on in the show, so make sure you got them coming in the comment section, especially if you are a member of the channel. That way you can use all those custom emojis and let everybody know, wave the flag of DA-lien hood with all of the ridiculous custom emojis. There you go. And speaking of, for all the members, a nice little announcement on our Ask DA Anything segment, which we do monthly. Let's start things off, though, right now with your Furious Five. James Franklin, he gone. And Penn State could not wait another minute. In fact, my guess is Penn State had made this decision at the end of the day yesterday and waited until an NFL Sunday was happening to bury the story as much as possible, because this is an admission. It is one of the great missed opportunities in their program's history and perhaps one of the great face plants in modern college football history. I try not to speak in hyperbole, but in this case, I really do think it's true. You come into the season with not college football playoff aspirations. You did that last year. This was winning a national championship. That was what the bar was set at coming into the season. And more than a few college football know-it-alls had thought that Penn State had a legitimate shot at winning the national championship. And not only was that so obviously, so painfully clear over the last 3 weeks that that was not going to happen, but you go from national championship or bust to firing your head coach before Halloween. Hell, it's before you probably have your Halloween costume decided and they fire their head coach. Penn State has done one of the greatest slip on the banana peels in the last 25 years of college football, to have expectations here and to have to fire your head coach by mid-October. But it had to be done. It had to be done because James Franklin had lost the little leverage that he had coming into this month, which was at least you beat the bad teams. It's one thing to lose to Ohio State and Michigan. It's one thing to lose in a college football playoff. But what you couldn't afford was if James Franklin couldn't do those things and lost the rope against bad teams. And that's exactly what happened the last 2 weeks against UCLA and now Northwestern. When Penn State loses to Northwestern, that's a calamity. But it's beyond a calamity when Penn State loses to Northwestern following losing to UCLA, following losing to Oregon. Then something really awful had happened. And that is James Franklin had lost the locker room. He had lost the players. He had lost control of the program. The program had gotten ahead of him and swerved off the side of the highway, and he couldn't get it back on. That's what was happening. Every week was becoming a referendum on the previous week or weeks, that they simply could not find their way out of the forest. And if you can't find your way out of the forest after getting a wake-up call against Oregon, and you can't come back angry and focused after losing to UCLA, well, then you know what? You're gone. So there really wasn't another option. The only thing that holds Penn State back for a moment is that they've got to pay out $50 million to this guy. The buyout's $50 million. Thankfully, you got that Big Ten money. But imagine taking $50 million and lighting it on fire just so that you don't have to watch James Franklin coach another football game. That's what happened today. That's what happened today. And they didn't have a choice. That's how ugly this got. And when you look at James Franklin and the years at Penn State, there's some good. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that he helped steer the program into being the third best in the second best football conference, right? So there's something there. They went to good bowl games. They beat all the bad teams of the Big Ten. They made Novembers and December relevant at Penn State. Now, that should be the lowest bar. That should always be the case. But there was some highs for James Franklin. The issue is, though, Penn State has everything you could possibly want to win national championships. Okay? There is absolutely no reason Penn State should not be Ohio State or Michigan. There's no excuse why. They have all the same resources as those two programs. They are a football school through and through, let's face it. In fact, more so than Ohio State and Michigan, who actually field decent Elite Eight, sometimes Final Four type college basketball teams. Penn State never does that, ever. They have all of this in-state talent. Pennsylvania is a place that through Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the interior continually pumps out 4- and 5-star kids all the time. They have an incredible home field advantage, an incredible student section, an activated campus, and legacy, history. They have everything you could possibly want and a conference that prints money in the Big Ten. And to have this, yeah, you got to make a change. You have to make a change. It was time. James Franklin, you got to go. And that should be a very, very enticing job for somebody else, for the next guy. And Penn State should not settle, because that should be one of the, quote, Cadillac jobs of college football. Next up, let's move over to the NFL. A day's worth of NFL action here. And the Miami Dolphins, part of the pun, lost at sea. After another loss today to the Chargers, the Dolphins, specifically Tua Tagovailoa, spoke about lack of leadership and that guys were not attending players-only meetings, or they were showing up late to practice and film sessions. And I've got a couple of thoughts here. Number one, dude, you're one of the captains. I mean, they need to be listening to you. You're one of the captains. You're one of the leaders. You're one of the vocal voices. You're the starting quarterback. You're the highest paid player on the team. Tua Tagovailoa. If guys are skipping practice and guys are not coming to players-only meetings, which I assume are led by you amongst others, That's kind of a you problem as well. And going to the media, vocalizing this issue is actually a bad look for Tua. It is also an indicator that Mike McDaniel has absolutely lost the locker room. And I'll raise my hand and admit that I had been a pretty loud McDaniel supporter for his first couple of seasons. Frankly, I like when head coaches don't play the archetypal, central casting, tough guy, gym teacher, slam your head against a brick wall to fire guys up. I like when you don't always have to play that role. I like when there's guys that might be a little more sophisticated, a little more clever, a little more interesting, have a little bit more depth than just that, which we see so often in football. So I liked that Mike McDaniel seemed to be self-deprecating. I liked that Mike McDaniel didn't have to walk in as a former player and a tough guy and demand that his guys run through blocking sleds for him. I liked also the early returns that he was getting on guys like Tua and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and company. But it is so abundantly clear that if one of your captains and your starting quarterback is talking about how players are coming late to meetings and skipping players-only meetings, late to practice and skipping other responsibilities around the job, around the organization, then they've got no respect for the head coach. They've got no respect for the head coach. And it has been pretty obvious that the last couple of weeks, maybe the entire season, maybe going back into the summer, but certainly the last few weeks, McDaniel seems to be fried. You listen to his press conferences and he's stuttering and stammering and halting and doesn't really have any answers. And the players are very clearly kind of out to lunch. I mean, remember, after week number 1, there was a players-only meeting. Week number 1, because of such the nose show against the Colts. McDaniels does not have the ear of that team. They do not respect him. They do not respect the cause. They do not respect pulling in the same direction. They do not respect the camaraderie, the teamwork, the job at hand, the season. They do not respect that, very obviously. And Tua is vocalizing that. And so they do not respect the head coach. If I'm Stephen Ross, it's only a matter of time. It just depends on whether you want to blow up everything in the middle of the season before the midway mark of the NFL campaign. But you are now marching into inevitability. There is just no way that anything can happen that Mike McDaniel comes back. So the decision becomes, if you've already decided to move on, do you just pull off the Band-Aid now? Or do you kind of let this thing ride out knowing that you can't really fix it with an interim coach anyway? I would not be surprised, though, that if Tua Tagovailoa's, if those statements that basically the locker room is out to lunch, it would not surprise me if those statements forced the hand of Stephen Ross to have to fire Mike McDaniel this week. They would not surprise me because those are damning statements for both the quarterback and the head coach. Next up, why don't we revisit London for a moment here? We will have a full breakdown, and mostly from the Broncos side of things, since they won this game, coming up here later on in the show with Brandon Cristal from Guerrilla Sports in Denver. He travels with the Broncos. He was out in the UK this week. And so we're going to catch up with him coming up in a few minutes. So that's when we'll talk about the Broncos. For the Jets, Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback. I have seen enough. And first stop in Chicago, we can blame the coach, we can blame the offense, we can blame the weapons, we can blame the organization, because no quarterback ever has any success in Chicago since Jim McMahon. Fine. He can move to Pittsburgh and you could say, well, you know what, honestly, Mike Tomlin should have had a longer leash. He should have gotten the full season. Russ was awful anyway, and Justin Fields deserved another chance. We are now at stop number 3, coach number 3, offense number 3, scheme number 3, and right. The Jets have not had a lot of success forever, but I have seen enough. I have seen enough. Justin Fields is broken, and you ain't putting that genie back into the bottle. He is broken. Now, Aaron Glenn has his own host of issues. Whatever the hell that was at the end of the first half is beyond me. How you can have 28 seconds on the clock and not get a playoff to end the first half is absolutely staggering. It's an abomination. It's insanity. It's staggering. But Justin Fields taking snaps looks like a man who is scared of the job. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It is hard to find a quarterback that is that ineffective. And you want to say the offensive line isn't good? That's fair. You want to say he's only got Garrett Wilson? Okay. You want to say the Jets always stink? Fine. You want to say Breece Hall was overrated? All right. But you cannot watch Jets football and look at Justin Fields and say that looks like an NFL quarterback. You can't do it. And after 3 spots, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. At some point in time, under some set of circumstance, you just have to be better. You just have to be better. And this isn't a 1-week thing or a 2-week thing or a 3-week thing. This is a 6-week thing. This is a month-and-a-half thing. This is a last year thing. This is a Chicago thing. It's a thing. Justin Fields is just not an NFL quarterback. It's not happening. You can put him out there all you want this season. It ain't happening. And just as far as the Jets go, I don't want to spend too much time on the Jets because God knows we all had to endure 3 hours of that in London earlier on Sunday. But what should be, at the very least, a tenacious and accountable, hard-nosed Jets team that lacks the talent looks discombobulated. And they are really lucky the Broncos offense was that pathetic. It looked like the Broncos had been sightseeing in the UK all week because the Jets are right now deplorable. Absolutely deplorable. On to the Bengals. Speaking of deplorable. I understand why the Bengals decided to try something, anything. So here comes Joe Flacco. But that ain't going to be enough. That ain't going to be enough. The first half, 4 punts and a missed field goal was just shades of Jake Browning. And I know that Flacco had a couple of decent throws in the second half, and the final score looks pretty decent, and he had the touchdown throw to Jamar Chase, but Joe Flacco ain't it. That's not the guy to save the season, to finally get some breath pumped back into this organization before Joe Burrow has to make a decision whether to come back or not. It's over. And it's sad. It's sad to say because we all want to see Joe Burrow under center playing in important games. Who could turn their eyes away from Joe Burrow and the Bengals in December last year? That run was fascinating. Every week became more fascinating. Can Burrow save the season? And if they make the playoffs, who doesn't want to play the Cincinnati Bengals and Burrow and Higgins and Jamar Chase, etc.? They were going to be a tough out, and ain't nobody wanted to play that offense with that quarterback, especially having seen him and that organization go to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. We ain't going to get that this year. That is not happening this year. This is too far gone now, and it's a sin, and it's terrible, and you just hate to see it because there should be a path for the Cincinnati Bengals at 2-0 to have stabilized enough to just get it to 7-7 so that Joe Burrow can come back with some type of oxygen left in the season in the final 3 weeks. But they're now 2-4, and the offense becomes more and more unwatchable by the week. They scored 10 points against the Vikings, 3 points against the Broncos. Last week against the Lions, the game was out of hand early. They finally scored garbage time touchdowns. The same thing happened on Sunday against the Packers. It doesn't get easier. They get the Steelers next up, so they're going to be 2-5. Now, they do get the Jets after that. And I don't care who your quarterback is, you should be able to beat the Jets. But you're talking about 3-5. There's still another game in Pittsburgh. You play the Patriots later on. The Ravens don't look so bad anymore as a matchup, but you still have to go to Buffalo. So the problem is you're probably beyond 7 losses by the time Burrow is even close to coming back. And I think Joe Burrow, you can make your holiday plans now. Whatever it is you want to do, spend time with family, spend time with whomever, get out of town, go to Cancun, spend time at an exotic resort, go to Europe, what have you. I think at this point we can say you're comfortable in making those plans, because this has been egregious to watch since Burrow went down. And how bad is it that Joe Flacco provides more hope than Jake Browning? Finally, one of the games of the day, Niners Bucs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have turned into one of the most fun teams to watch in the NFL. In no small part because of their quarterback. Baker Mayfield is fascinating. And I have not always been a Baker Mayfield fan. I thought early on in his career, making everything about the chip on your shoulder, everything was about the rivalry with somebody who disrespected you. Everything was, I'll show you. It gets exhausting from a quarterback. I do think you have to evolve past that as a quarterback. And to his credit, I think he has. Doesn't mean he doesn't still like to prove it, but I don't think he has to be so showy about it and so consumed by the perceived disrespect. He's beyond that now. He's been starting quarterback in the NFL for a long time, and he's winning games and going to the playoffs and winning divisions. That run today in which the pocket collapses, he squirts out from it, he breaks to the open field, breaks some tackles, gets the first down, and gets up and kind of flexes. That's just the sign of a guy that all those Buccaneers love playing for, and he's playing at the highest level he's capable of. That has now the Buccaneers have turned into some must-watch television. They have a great collection of weapons for him to utilize. They have a defense that's making plays as well. Deep into this game, when the Niners and Mac Jones had chances to tie the game, to get closer late, there were defensive plays to be made. And they had to make them twice because you had the roughing the punter call as well, the flag, which extended that drive. And they had to pull off the interception after that. But the Buccaneers now have, I think, grown into a legitimate contender in the NFC. And in an NFC where the Philadelphia Eagles are taking on water right now, and the Packers haven't looked as dominant as really they should have, and nobody else in the NFC South scares anybody, and you just get this win over the 4-1 Niners to push the Niners to 4-2. I think the Bucs at 5-1. I think that's a squad that you're starting to learn has the pieces. Todd Bowles is always going to scare me in a big game. That's not going to change. But between Baker as an MVP candidate right now, balance on offense and defense, ability to play with anybody on offense, the Buccaneers have become must-watch TV and a true contender in the NFC. In a league where there hasn't been any great teams come to the surface yet, I think the Buccaneers are making the case they should be considered one of the best in the NFL. That's your Furious Five, everybody. Throw in your comments as much as possible. We'll get to some of those beam-ups and comments coming up later on in the program. Love to hear from you guys, the DA-liens, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Instagram Live, or whether this is on YouTube as well. If you're on IG Live or on X, make sure you find us on YouTube and you are subscribed to the channel, because this week coming up here, we've got a tremendous series going on the YouTube channel called Love Triangle. That's right. I'm diving into year number 1 post the A's leaving Oakland. And I'm going to all sides, the triangle of Oakland, Sacramento, and Las Vegas. I spoke to Carmichael Dave, who is an enormously popular radio host in Sacramento this week. I did part 1, the Sacramento part of it. Coming up, part 2, Brody Brazil in Oakland. He was the longtime pre- and post-game host of the A's on NBC Sports Bay Area. He was, interestingly, not renewed for his contract at the end of last year, and he had been pretty outspoken about them moving. Funny how that happened. And I wanted to talk to him year one after. One AD. What's Oakland like as a sports town, as an A's fan base, and as a guy that followed this thing for years? Brody has been excellent. You'll hear him, you'll see him, a deep dive with him coming up tomorrow in part 2. Part 3, the Vegas part of it, which might be explosive because those in Vegas don't like me very much for crushing this relocation for years now. I'm going to go out to Vegas and speak to somebody who I don't think really likes me, but that should be interesting. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you get notified when the new parts of Love Triangle are up, posted live. Also, for all of the members, right now, if you're a member of the Jedi Council, the Inner Sanctum, the Circle of Trust here on this YouTube channel, we've got your Ask DA Anything coming up on Tuesday night. I thought last Friday was going to be tough. We were actually going to be traveling anyway. We had a wedding on Saturday that we had to travel to as an 11 a.m. start time. Have you ever heard of that? 11 a.m. ceremony we had on Saturday. So we had to travel on Saturday. We had to travel Friday night, so I couldn't do the Ask DA Anything anyway. But I said, let's take it out of a football night. So we're going to do it on Tuesday night here on this channel, okay? Tuesday night. If you are a member, it's a members-only Ask DA Anything. Everything is on the table. And we're going to talk about the Buffalo trip. We're going to talk about the A's series. We're going to talk about everything behind the scenes. That's what we do with the Ask DA Anything, which happens monthly here on the YouTube channel. This is the October YouTube question and answer. Let's go out to the UK, shall we? My friend Brandon Cristal works for Gorilla Sports. He covered the Broncos. He's on the road in England, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where the Broncos get an ugly victory over the Jets. Let's go out there right now. Work of art fit for a European museum somewhere. In London, in the UK, in Tottenham Stadium, the Denver Broncos get a 13-11 victory over the Jets. Joining us from London, how about this? We're going coast to coast and across the ocean is my friend Brandon Cristal from Gorilla Sports, covering the Broncos all season long. BK, welcome inside our humble abode as you are in the palatial Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah, thank you, DA. First time, long time. And it's been a great week over here. They've really embraced the way that NFL and London specifically, but all of Europe, kind of intertwined now. And is it still a logistical challenge for teams? Sure. And does jumping time zones make things tricky? All of that we get. But the NFL is now here multiple weeks. They're going to be here for a third straight week. The Broncos, I don't know if they did the league any favors. Maybe it's a really high-scoring soccer game at 13-11. But when the Jets and Broncos get together, you got to throw the records out. Last year was 10-9 in a deluge in MetLife Stadium when Bo Nix threw his first touchdown pass to win the game and beat Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so on this game, was that atrocious Jets offense, an atrocious quarterback in Justin Fields, or an elite Broncos defense?
I think it was both. The elite Broncos defense has shown up every week. Now, they gave up some big plays and were bad on first down against the Colts. Then against the Chargers, they obviously couldn't close out the game late. Justin Herbert makes one of the biggest plays that you'll see to, I guess, take a lead late in the game where he evades Nick Bonito as he's basically about to get sacked, throws a perfect pass to Keenan Allen. But in general, they've been way more good than bad. They didn't necessarily beat up Cam Ward in week one. They weren't ever really scared that Ward in his first NFL start was going to slice and dice him. And I think kind of the same thing with Justin Fields. Although it feels like with Fields, there's almost, I don't say it's PTSD, but there's a reluctance to just throw the ball. And it's not that he's holding the way maybe Russell Wilson does. It's just that he's indecisive, and this Broncos defense is far too dangerous and can attack you from the edge with their superior edge rushers inside with the best inside pass rush as well. Their linebackers will blitz. Their DBs will blitz. Safety Talanoa Hufanga, he gets into the blitz action too. 9 sacks and 9 completions. Look, are they going to have 9 sacks against Patrick Mahomes when they play the Chiefs here in a few weeks in November? Probably not. But you have 9 sacks in an NFL game. That says you're doing something right. And 30 sacks through 6 games, picking up where they left off last year, where they led the league in sacks with 63.
The Jets offense was so bad, but also clock management, game management seemed to be questionable at best, especially at the end of the first half. Did Sean Payton talk about what a ridiculous sequence that was by the Jets? I mean, they were kind of handed that end of half situation by New York.
Yeah, when asked about it, was he surprised? He said, I was surprised. Didn't really understand. Thought the Hail Mary was coming at least, maybe the long kick, but it's too long. And then he's like, and then the clock just ran out. And we went to the locker room. And there's not a bigger Aaron Glenn supporter than Sean Payton. He coached him. He gave him his first job in coaching. He endorsed him for this job. He talks about him glowing Campbell and all of that when they played the Lions and how he thinks, he said it again today, just like the Lions had a rough start and Dan Campbell had him playing hard at the end of the year, because I think they even came to Denver and beat them a few years ago when it was probably Vic Fangio's next to last game. But he's like, you could see them getting better. And so he's like, AG's going to have the same thing. It's his job to figure out the roster and all of that. But regardless, that is a head scratcher. And we see it every week. I don't want to jump too far afield, but we've seen it with Coach Prime a fair amount, in Boulder a little bit. And I hate to boil it down to something so simple, but the amount of times end of half, end of game situations are mishandled by coaches, I just think, have you never played Madden? Because in Madden, you're going to call timeouts because you want to score the most points. Like, it seems like a basic premise. And I'm not saying Sean Payton is a big Madden guy. I don't know. But Sean does handle when to use timeouts, calling timeouts at 2:33 instead of waiting the 33 seconds to run down, then calling them on the other side of the 2-minute warning because maybe an incomplete pass happens between now and then, and you're going to save some time. But that was a head scratcher. Sean didn't even have his guys back on that, really. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I was surprised.
So should Broncos fans be concerned about how bad the offense was against the Jets?
Yeah, and not because of anything specifically beyond losing Ben Powers at left guard hurts for 2 reasons. You're losing one of your better veteran players. He came over from Baltimore. No, we thought he was the best pass protector, but then realized some of that may have been Russ related, but really good in the run game. You've got 2 good running backs that they like. You like what you've seen from Dobbins. And Sean Payton's not one to just say, we're a defensive team. We're just going to run it, punt it, and let our defense do its job. He still wants to score 30 points. He wants to hold you to 9, but he wants to score 30 to let you see how creative he is as a play designer. The one thing that a lot of his offenses have had, and you've heard people talk about it, is a joker. We think Evan Ingram is that. He calls a joker a tight end or a running back that is hard to cover. And, safety, linebacker, corner, whatever it is, it's a mismatch. Evan Ingram hadn't looked great early, dealing with back, a calf. Now they add Evan Ingram into the mix the last 2 weeks more consistently, and it's got the potential to, I think, make things easier for everyone. But today clearly wasn't that day, even though Ingram had, obviously, a few of the only big plays.
Okay, last question. Because the AFC has lost some major contenders, the Bengals feel out of it, the Ravens feel out of it, and the Chiefs look vulnerable. What's the biggest concern behind the scenes Sean Payton has? Because I'm sure he's measuring himself against the best of the AFC. Expectations coming into the season was, you know what, the Broncos are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. What's his concern behind the scenes that maybe he wouldn't vocalize?
I think it's the pre-snap penalties. And I think he does vocalize that some, but I think talking to him, it's like, you can only do so much as a coach to not have a guy jump or to not line up wrong on either side of the ball. Every now and then you'll give a defender, it happened to Nick Bonito today, and it's happened to Jonathan Cooper off the edge. Give them a little bit of leeway if they're lined up because they're trying to call the neutral zone tighter. But pre-snap penalties drive him up the wall. It happened a couple of weeks ago. They force a punt against the Chargers, but Jonathan Cooper was lined up in the neutral zone. So now it was an automatic first down because it was 4th and 4. They got off the field the next series of plays, so they didn't end up scoring. But the point is, you lost some yardage, and those are the types of things that aren't characteristic of Sean Payton's teams, and that's bothering him more than anything. But also, today's the first time you talk about things going on behind the scenes. I can't swear 100% this is true, but I'm about 99.5% sure that this is true. Today is the first time, really since the season started, that he called Vance Joseph out by name and praised the work the defense did. Despite having the best defense in the league, certainly it was short list in that conversation. Sean talks about how good their defense is, talks about how great PS2 and Nick Bonito and his players are, and talks about, the team broadly, but he doesn't mention Vance Joseph by name. And today he did more than once in his post-game press conference. So I think it's at least an acknowledgement of, okay, Vance really is scheming up a good defense. They keep getting creative with ways to get to the quarterback and make things hard on the opposing team running the football. And I have to lean into that and embrace it versus, guys are making plays. You got Benito, you got PS2. So that's kind of one of the things that he wants to now, I think, match that level. And so not now, but always, but acknowledging they really are keeping us afloat and are the reason that we're not only 4-2, but we're in those two tough losses to the Chargers and the Colts earlier in the year.
Well, that's a super interesting observation. Why do you think Sean Payton has been hesitant to name Vance Johnson by name?
I think, he talks about how VJ was not his first choice. Vic Fangio was. Vic wasn't coming back to Denver that soon. 4 years was enough for VJ to come back, okay? But Vic wasn't coming. Then he wanted to keep Ejiro Evero. Problem is, Ejiro is Nathaniel Hackett's best friend from college. So he's like, thank you, but no thank you. I would like the opportunity to leave. He goes to Carolina. Also hired Jim Leonard. I don't say as a coach in waiting, but, Jim doesn't get the Wisconsin job. Then he steps away from football. He brings Jim, who played both in Denver and in New Orleans, but brings Jim in. And a lot of people think that Jim will be the defensive coordinator when Vance leaves. And so I think that they're starting to just feel like they're on the same page more. And that's talking to a lot of people within the organization, behind the scenes. And I don't mean just football people, but kind of top to bottom, and not just players, but that relationship matters. But also Sean, who is the coach of the whole team, and he talks about the defense plenty, but that acknowledges that the help is helping, especially because his other guy, Darren Rizzi, who's a phenomenal special teams coach, has had some rough plays in their kick coverage. Obviously, the field goal block against the Colts, it didn't go their way with the leverage call. Because Sean last year was asked about helping guys get jobs, and he's like, you want your guys being interviewed, you want them to take other jobs. That shows that you're developing coaches the right way. It also comes with a couple compensatory picks at the end of the third round, so there's that. The Niners got him for years, but when you have a minority coach that gets a head coaching job, Sean always likes to tell a story about early on Tom Benson when they're in New Orleans saying, man, our coaches are being asked to interview for a lot of jobs. And he said, yeah, Mr. Benson, when they stop calling to talk to your coaches, that's when you want to be worried. And so he lost 3 coaches last year to jobs, like Johnny Morton now calling the plays in Detroit. The offense coordinator, the tight ends coach, is now the offense coordinator with the Bears, even though Ben Johnson calls the plays. Declan Doyle. So it's just those inner working dynamics are fun to watch because they both have immense respect for each other as coaches. It was just interesting to me. This is the first time that he's mentioned Vance's name in a while.
For joining us from across the pond, Brandon, you're going to receive a bottle of Santo Tequila. This is Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar's signature cocktail, signature tequila. All of our guests here for joining us get themselves a bottle. Speaking of compensatory picks, you will get a compensatory bottle of Santo Tequila sent to your home.
I'll drink to that. And yeah, I'm already bringing too much stuff back, so I'm glad that you can send it there and not mail it to me here in London. So that's certainly more convenient. But this has been a lot of fun, Damon. I've been a fan for a long time of this show. My favorite Sunday night YouTube show by a mile. And I didn't know what it would take to get on. Because I think not only are these Broncos going to at least be interesting down the stretch and have something to say about the playoff race, the Nuggets and Avalanche are also 2 very good teams. And the expectations are high in Denver. And they may get a Major League Baseball team again at some point. But right now, with the Broncos, the Nuggets, and the Avalanche, maybe as their seasons get going or as we get into spring and summer after football season winds down, I can come join you again.
You're a smart man negotiating your next bottle of Santo Tequila. Well done, Brandon Cristal from Tottenham Stadium in the UK. Thanks, buddy.
Cheerio. Cheerio, as they say.
I mean, where else do you get this type of comprehensive breakdown on YouTube? On Sunday nights, we go through the games, we give you takes, we get your comments, we go out to guests who are covering the league across the country, or in this case, out to the UK from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. How amazing. Thanks to BK for joining us. Brandon and I go all the way back to 2003. We were both hired to help the launch at 61 Sports in Kansas City. I was the nighttime host. He was the producer of the midday show. And then they rebranded it to 610 Sports a few years later, and he has gone on to great things in Denver, covering the Broncos. So really good to get him back here on the show. We've been friends for a really long time. All right, I've got some big news around here, okay? I see the chatter in the comments section. We'll get to your comments in just moments. I see the chatter. The chatter is, has Kristen in Buffalo welcomed her child yet? Now, Kristen in Buffalo announced to the world at the Bob's Bar show in June that she was pregnant. DA-liens from across the country, across the globe, have been waiting to see young Simba or Simbet. Well, I want you to know that Kristen texted me earlier this week and announced, baby boy Buffalo is here. Yes. The legitimate, literal diaper DA-lien baby boy in Buffalo has arrived. Mom is doing great. Baby is doing great. Dad is doing great, which we're super excited about. Kristen has been nicknamed Gal Fieri around here for her football foods of the week over the years. I always call her my team captain. She is 1 in a million. She is all heart, all good, all types of the qualities you want in a friend, a colleague, and a listener here. And so I love her. I love that the baby is doing well, and we can all revel in that. So let's all toast to baby boy in Buffalo. That's right, for coming down the pike and joining us to enjoy the 2025 football season. Now, Kristen might be in Buffalo, but she is a Lions fan. And so tonight, Sunday Night Football, let's see if baby boy in Buffalo, which this is maybe his first Lions game. Maybe he was around last weekend, but first Sunday nighter, first big primetime Lions game for him. So let's see if he can bring the good luck here, which would certainly be helpful for a lot of people around the NFL who do not want to see the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl. Could hand them a rough start to the season. So cheers, Kristen. We love you guys, and so happy that you guys are all doing well. All right. Oh, Kristen says in the chat, it's his first football Sunday. Oh, yeah. Special. First football Sunday, and the Lions are on national TV against the Chiefs. What could be better than that? Very cool. Time to welcome in our friend Aiden Hatton. A little reminder that Ask DA Anything comes to you on Tuesday night. I know I talked about it last week. Friday night was not a good night. As I said, me and the Bourbon Bell were traveling for a wedding on Friday night. So early start. Aiden, I don't know if you've ever done an 11 a.m. start time for a wedding. It was crazy. Ceremony was 11 to noon, and then 12 to 5 was the reception. And like by 2 o'clock, we're already doing like mother son dances and that. And I'm like, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we're doing this stuff already. I said it was a greatest show on turf type of wedding. I couldn't believe we were just passing the baton over and over and over again. I'm like, man, we were rifling through this. I turned to my wife and said, this is going fast, isn't it? So quite a bizarre situation, but because of that, we're going to push Ask DA Anything to Tuesday night.
Bizarre. And I've been, killed in the chat for how many weddings that I've been to and missed. And, as a 25-year-old, how many weddings I have to go to. None of them at 11 a.m. start time. Randy from the Jedi Council had the same question. So that was where we were going to start with tonight's comments. And to answer your question, no, in no way have I seen an 11 a.m. start time. Set the scene. Was it a backyard wedding that they had to get to something? I don't know what you would have to get to after 5 o'clock, but is there something that you have to do for a game after the fact?
Well, I think that when you have an 11 a.m. start time, I think you probably got the cheaper package, to be honest with you. Now, this was a very nice place on Long Island. It was a very hoity place. So there's a beautiful garden in the background and some water as well. And, there was a pagoda. And I think the idea was to take advantage of this beauty. If you get the nighttime package, it might have been too costly to get this place. So if you're going to get this place, you got to get the matinee package, the getaway game. And so they got the getaway game package, which means you're in and out with that ceremony in the first hour. You got noon until 5. And my guess is they got to turn around the reception hall for a 6 o'clock next up, is my guess, a 6 to 10 or a 7 to 11 or something like that. So we were in and out. And there was an after party after it. We did not go to, had to get home for AJ, but there was an after party. So I guess they extended it into the night. But yeah, an 11 a.m. start time was like, and they served champagne at 11 as you entered the ceremony. So I was
like that.
That's pretty cool, but I can't do champagne. I get headaches. So I'm looking, I'm like, man, if there was an open bar around here at 11 a.m., I would get ready like right now. This would be a lot of fun. But at least they did serve some booze so you can get your AM drink on. Everybody's looking around like, can we drink? It's like 11 a.m. I was like, yeah, of course. Do champagne, do it.
I'll give you the 2 extenuating circumstance weddings that I've heard in the last year, 2025. First one, my roommate actually had a Wednesday wedding this year.
Oh, that's devastating.
In the summer. This was June 23rd or 4th. It was a couple days before my birthday, so that's why I remember. Wednesday wedding downtown in a decent-sized city here in Massachusetts. My guess is it was the cheaper option. That's what my
It's the
sources
affordable
told me.
package, yeah. So Wednesday night wedding is the most affordable option.
Number 2, this actually just came up this week. My friend Chris, who's an Ohio State alum, went back to Columbus for a wedding of his friends. Saturday during the day, Ohio State football is playing. So everybody's on their phone in the seats watching the game.
Oh, goodness.
As the ceremony is going on. Also a very tough one.
That's a really, really bad one. We had our wedding on September something, 18th, something like that. And I was like, it's a Saturday.
Stop this, Joe. Hold
Saturday
on.
night.
That was too much of a pregnant pause.
Yeah, I don't exactly know the right date. And I will plead ignorance, and my wife will give me a pass on this one because we had 2. We got married on a sailboat in August. It was August 20. Well, I know that one. When it comes around, I know that. But
get ready, Instagram. Here comes this clip.
That's the one I'm supposed to know. But we could only have so many people on the sailboat. So we had to have a reception in September, a month later. And so we had the reception on a Saturday night, and I was very worried about having, football on. Luckily, there was no big college football game that night, or else I would have heard it from a lot of my audience.
I really hope Babs and the morning crew is listening, because I feel like any flack that you now give him about forgetting kids' birthdays, he gets a point back for this, because I know there's multiple dates. And you get them mixed up. But at the same time, there's only 2. And maybe, hey, fast forward when I get to this point in life and I forget, then you can come back on and criticize me too. But wow.
The only reation that I'm not
on Instagram.
The only reason I'm not worried about that is that the date passed this past August, and my wife and I we were in 2 different places on that night. I forget what we were doing. And she texted me. She's like, oh, by the way, tonight's our anniversary. I was like, it is? She's like, don't worry, I forgot too. I mean, we had no plans at that point in time. So,
All right. Well, if she forgets to, then
yeah,
all's forgiven.
Yeah. So, all right, we got some comments here in the comment section. I actually went through and starred a bunch that I liked as well. So if you went through some of the stars, then we can hit them all.
We did, and we got a couple vocabulary notes in the comment section. So let's start there. B Squared from the Jedi Council says you're bringing back discombobulated as a word.
Okay, so discombobulated, really good word. Anytime you can have multiple B's in a word, it's easy to pronounce and fun to pronounce. Discombobulated. So that's a really fun one. But also, B Squared will know this. Back in the day, Herm Edwards, we used to have so much fun because he would use the word frustrated. We got frustrated. He was frustrated. And we thought that he was completely butchering the English language, thinking that he got flustered and frustrated and conflated them. So we just hammered him forever, frustrated. And I heard him say this recently as well. Turns out frustrated, I think, is actually a word that nobody uses because obviously you would use either flustered or frustrated. But discombobulated is in that pantheon of great words about being off a little bit.
Second nomination in the vocabulary category for the comment section tonight, and people are catching on to the pun game on the Furious Five. Wallace writes in, it's amazing how the pendulum swings sometimes in Happy Valley. Very well done.
Very well done. Yes, Wallace is one of our DA-liens that really loves the puns. He loves the wordplay, as do I, as we all know. And as I pointed out last week, Aiden, the Market Marvel, has now risen to a very elite level of pun wordage on all these headlines.
I do it in my daily life too, and I feel like this is the place that appreciates it the most, which is why it's a bummer that I only am here 1 hour a week out of the 7 days of the week, because a lot of them just get a, waka waka, oh, here he is again. So I'll tamp it down, but we're really unleashing here every Sunday at 7:30.
Good.
Wallace also wants to know who that is on the top right on your wall. It looks like it's out of place, almost anime-like. We know the answer to this, but I know you wanted to tee this up to answer this question.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're talking about that photo right there, that's Little Mo. That is Little Mo. He's wearing his Baltimore Orioles jersey. He's wearing his Baltimore Orioles hat, and he's got his cane and his eye patch. And that is a painting done by a local artist in Baltimore. And when I went down there, there was like 2 prints, and the artist that did it gave me one because of how much I talk about Mo, and I was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing ever. So of all the things, it is the exact size of all of the other artwork of the players that I have back there. So I just thought, man, that is so cool. He's always watching the show and always looking over my shoulder. So Little Mo is that upper right-hand corner, which he's always with us. Your mic isn't on. Fire that up.
To see the new painting in the Ravens end zones, they've changed up the style in the last couple of weeks to more of the, I don't want to call it old school, or maybe it's new school.
It is.
But the MO,
it is. That is an old school logo. That was their team logo back in 96, 97 before they went to the current one. So it's cool that they went throwback in the end zones. And your point is that the MO is still lit up.
100%. And there we go. I'm dating myself not knowing the retro logos. So that's where you step in as the host. Also, let's go to a food question, because it's not a show without a food question. Ben Dozo in the chat. This was do you ever purposefully burn the edges of your pizza? And it sounds like Largent thinks that is desirable. I'm wondering if you can order a pizza well done, maybe a little less undercooked. What side of the aisle are you on there?
Yeah, I actually am more of a doughy pizza guy. I like the softer, doughier crust. My favorite pizza places in New York City are not crispy. I know a lot of people like brick oven pizza, which I can certainly get behind, but I like it doughier. So I'm not a guy that burnt the crust. Undercooked is better to me than overcooked when it comes to pizza.
And finally, to wrap it up, I'm more of a well done person, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But I feel like bar pizza, and this is maybe another unpopular take of mine, but this is the forum for it. everybody loves bar pizza, especially as a New Englander. There's so many good, South Shore, Massachusetts is known for its bar pizza. Awesome. But it almost shouldn't be considered in the same category as the New York style places because it's smaller, it's crispier. I don't want to say it's easier to cook, but it's a different set of instructions versus, okay, where's the best slice of New York pizza in the country or in the world? It's just a different conversation. And maybe I can get put on the stake for that, but that's my take.
I think that's fair. Look, and I don't like being a pizza snob because I think there's a lot of different ways to do pizza and to do it well. It's kind of hard to screw up pizza, but we had this debate for years on the old show on CBS Sports Radio, myself, Bogues, Mraz, and Pete the Body, that you can't really kill Domino's or Little Caesars or whatever for being bad pizza because it's really not true pizza and it's good in its own thing. I mean, if you get a slice of Papa John's or like you're kind of drunk or high and you get some Papa John's delivered to the dorm or your apartment or whatever, that's a killer 2 a.m. It's great. Now you're going to say it's crappy pizza. It really shouldn't be considered necessarily pizza. It's just its own thing. So like brick oven pizza is great. The New York City slice is great. There's great slices all over the place. I mean, look, there's going to be bad slices all over the place too, especially in, non-Italian traditional areas. But yeah, I'm good with a lot of different pizza.
My favorite, Neapolitan. I'm going a Neapolitan slice with fresh mozzarella. Great date pizza if you're looking to like just split it up or do something along those lines. Great, light. The bread just feels a little bit more fresh. But that would be my pick. And
you can do Sicilian too. I love a Sicilian corner slice. That's always solid. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this and do it well.
A lot of different ways to go. And I'm sure that the chat come Tuesday is going to have a lot of different ways to go too with the Jedi Council. So to wrap it up, a Jedi Council member, B squared, anyone fired from the council, this was a James Franklin bit being fired today, has to drink grain wave Belgian wheat until they get drunk. That sounds like a punishment.
That sounds like a real punishment. At some point in time, when I get together with B squared, I'm gonna have to sip a little grain wave, whatever that is. Yeah, grain wave Belgian wheat. I'm not a wheat beer guy. It's a little too wheaty for me. So, although I will say that Boulevard Wheat, which is brewed in Kansas City, is one of my favorite beers of all time, but is not too wheaty, which is why I like it. Couple other ones that I wanted to get to. Cigar City Capo had a really good reference. Joe Flacco, today's Steve DeBerg. Anybody that remembers Steve DeBerg from the 80s, he was just on a different team every single year, and that is now happening with Joe Flacco. Remember Flacco, of course, best known for his Ravens days, but was a Jet, was a Brown, now he's a Bengal. I'm probably missing one or two of them in there. There's a lot of Steve DeBerg. Great play action pass Steve DeBerg. Oh, Papa Mendo loves a good play action, and DeBerg had that soft play action, cover it up, go deep. Nothing like it. Spencer says, Mr. Franklin, on your way out, ring the damn bell. Ring the damn bell. You're out of here. $50 million later. Wouldn't that be nice? Imagine getting paid $50 million to go away.
Ooh, we're missing some Joe Flacco teams. I just did a fact check.
Okay.
So from 2008 to 2018, drafted by the Ravens, played there his first 10 years. 2019, Broncos.
A Broncos Flacco. Okay.
If somebody has a list of jerseys and owns all of these, you're the guest next week on Watch the Live. 2019, Broncos. 2020, Jets. 2021, Eagles. We missed that one.
Don't remember the Eagles year. Wow. Okay.
That rings a bell. Broncos does not. And from 2021 to 22, he goes back to the Jets. Spends time in the Jets organization for two different stints.
Yes, there were 2 Jets stints. That's right.
There's also going to be 2 stints for this next team, the Browns. He went in 2023 and then came back for this past season in 25. Correct. Sandwiched in there in 2024, the last team we missed, the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, there was a Colts Flacco. That's right. Wow. There was a Colts, Eagles, Broncos Flacco. That is amazing. That is tremendous.
He's basically Falco at this point.
That's right. B squared says we need to know what the buyout was when DA left KC. Unfortunately, no buyout. They just didn't renew my contract. So I didn't get any money. I've never gotten any money to go away, which is really a sin. I've always wanted that. Still hasn't happened yet. There's still time, though, in my career. One day, somebody's going to pay me to go away. When I saw Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker get fired back in May, and they paid them out through the summer, I was like, not too bad. You get 3 months paid vacation in the summer. They got paid out June, July, and August. You know what? There's worse ways to spend a summer than paid out. That's my hope one day, that I'm paid.
What will be your first purchase?
Oh man. Well, that might be when I finally buy my boat. I have a hard cap on how much I want to spend in a boat, which I don't know the exact number right now, but like it can't be ostentatious. It cannot be too much, because everybody says like it's the worst thing in the world to own a boat, but I really want to own a boat one day, to just sit out there like Forrest Gump and just like, be trapped in deep thought as I, fish or I fish for shrimp. But that would probably be my first. But yeah, just imagine having a good enough contract where they pay you to go away. That's just really awesome. Matt says Mike McDaniel should vape. He did that on the sideline once. That's right. There is that weird video that pops up every so often where you can see Mike McDaniel vaping on the sideline.
Can we do a quick Mike McDaniel sidebar too? Because this is not part of Fitzmagic. I really thought of including it tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
Both Mr. McDaniel and Aaron Glenn for the Jets spotted today with the jogger pants hiked up to the kneecap so that the rest of the leg is showing. Is there a common theme? Your teams are either 0-6 or 1-5, and you have no faith in the players in the locker room. Guess what? It's probably because you're wearing those stupid pants every week. And I feel like this is Bizarro Seinfeld, and you should be doing this take instead of me. But the fact that the jogger pants are being worn by the worst two coaches in the league today, there's no reason to explain it other than the pants is contributing.
Yeah, I mean, this is not shocking anybody. I wish that coaches went back to wearing suits on sidelines. I don't like underdressed casual coaches. I wouldn't want my CEO of my company to be wearing hoodies. I would rather you wear something nice. The jogger pants are not a great look. If you're in Miami, though, and it's really hot, and you're an offensive genius like an eccentric, kind of like Belichick was a defensive genius, you could probably get away with it. Now, when you're trash, you definitely can't. Aaron Glenn gets away with it at the moment because he still looks like an athlete. So he's fit and cut and fashionable. But again, 0-6, it starts wearing thin real fast. You kind of, if you're going to be this bad, you kind of have to dress up a little bit, because if you look like a slob and you guys play terrible football, then there really is there's no getting around it. B Squared says Joe Flacco's getting passed around like a wet joint, which is one way to put it. And thanks for that image. And Moist Pork, this is unbelievable, because Moist Pork can't make Fridays because of religious commitments. He can't make a Friday night. And we have worked wonders around making sure that events were not on Friday night, because Moist Pork is a Hall of Famer. I love him to death. We all know how important he is to everything that we do around here. But Moist was saying, I can't do Friday nights for Ask DA anything. And it just so happened that the last 2 months, September 9th and October 10th, both fell on a Friday, so we couldn't do it. So here I am going, well, you know what? He hasn't been able to get involved. He is a member of the Jedi Council. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, the poor guy should be able to ask a few questions behind the scenes. You know what? Let's make sure we don't do this on a Friday night. So I purposefully move it, not only because of him, but like I said, I had a commitment as well. But I'm thinking to myself, and this is great, and Moist will be able to contribute on Tuesday night. And here we are. The guy can't do this one either. I mean, has anybody become a bigger celebrity Hollywood? I can't make it anymore than Moist Pork. He gets one gold jacket and suddenly can't make it. Can't make it. I don't know. Now he's too important. He's probably got, dinner with the mayor of Baltimore. He's probably working on more development around the Inner Harbor. Perhaps it's the Orioles GM picking his brain for some offseason moves to get this thing going to the right direction. Maybe it's Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh needs help, although he's a Browns fan. Maybe you wouldn't lean on Moist. It's distinctly possible Stefanski's going to ask Moist, what do we do with Dylan Gabriel right now? Is it worth starting him again? And the guy's a busy man. It's unbelievable. Now I can't even get him in the STA anything.
My favorite fake scenario for Moist would be that he's actually Cooper Rush's new tailor, and he needs to hit him up for some suits coming up. Whoever the next quarterback is for the Ravens, because it's not Lamar Jackson anytime soon. He's calling up Moist to be the tailor.
I want one more comment in here. This is Ralph, who says James Franklin's going to be at a table with Jimbo Fisher and Coach O talking about whose exit was better. It should be noted. 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, probably. My wife and I were in Miami for the baby moon. Okay. We went down to Miami before AJ was born, and we were staying at a hotel, and we had to check out that day. So we checked out. We were going to check out at like 11 a.m. And I went down to bring our first bag of luggage down to the car, which was parked in a parking garage. So we go down there. It was like right around South Beach. And I go down there and I hear this low, gravelly voice. Who is talking like that? It just stuck out. So I come back from the car and I'm passing by and I hear it again. I look. At a table in the courtyard between the hotel and the parking garage is Coach Ed Ogeron. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go, go Tigers. So Coach O. And he was on the phone he was just yelling at somebody on the phone, but he yells at basically, that's his tone all the time. So I'm like, oh my God, Coach O. And this is after he had been bought out. So I go upstairs and I see my wife and I'm like, you wouldn't believe it. Coach O is down there in the courtyard. She's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. She goes, I love Coach O. Now, she's a Kentucky girl. She went to the SEC. She loves Coach O, not only because he's in the SEC, but because he once said he loves ham sandwiches. And she when she was a kid, she lived on ham sandwiches. So she's like, I love Coach O. And he is a character. So I'm like, well, maybe he'll still be out there when we go back to the car. She's like, no way. He's not going to be there. You always have the luck. You meet these guys anyway. I never get to meet him. I can't believe I miss Coach O. I'm like, well, let's go. So we check out of the hotel. We walk back to the car, and there he is again, still there. So I'm like, now's your chance. So first time around, he wanted nothing to do with me. Waved his hand basically and was like, keep moving. I come by with a pretty girl. Oh, hey, what's going on? I go, Coach O, this is my wife. She's a big fan. Well, come on over here, darling. Comes over. And he just starts talking to her. He's got a notepad of plays he's drawing up for his son, who's a high school coach. And so he's talking to his son. He's yelling at his son about plays that he's designing for the upcoming Friday night high school game. I'm like, oh my God. So now suddenly he has all the time in the world. My wife sits down, starts talking, and she says at the end of the conversation, of course, he doesn't mind taking a photo then with us. And at the end, he goes, oh, it's so nice to see so nice to see a Kentucky girl down here. So thanks for saying hello. And she's like, Coach O, hey, now you got plenty of time and plenty of money to enjoy those ham sandwiches. He's like, oh, I love them ham sandwiches. We're like, yeah. And then as we're walking away, he goes, double meat. He likes double meat ham sandwiches. He likes double the meat in the ham sandwiches. So I'm like, wow. And I just had Coach O, who's living on $40 million guaranteed money, talking about double meat. So there you go. That should be the next custom. That should be the next custom emoji. Double meat.
Here's Smitty. That impression was so good. I thought Coach O got beamed up for a moment.
Come on over here, darling.
AJ getting in the huddle for son Ogeron's team coming up in about 20 years, though.
You imagine that? That'd be so good if Coach O's son is coaching AJ one day. All right, let's get to your Little Mo laugh of the day, shall we? And our laugh of the day for Little Mo, who always was laughing along with us, was Tom Moore. How about Tom Moore? He is on the Buccaneer staff right now, okay? He's the offensive consultant to the Buccaneers. Look at a picture of Tom Moore. Now, that's a man that's been around the block, huh? This man is 86 years old and looks like he has seen everything in football because he has. You want to know how far back he goes? Well, back in 1961, he was a grad assistant at Iowa. He went to Iowa. But okay, so he starts his coaching career in 1961 during the JFK administration. His first NFL coaching job is in 77 with the Steelers. He is on Chuck Noll's staff as wide receivers coach in 77. Guys, he was part of the Steelers dynasty. They won in 78 and 79. He was coaching John Stallworth and Lynn Swann, and he's still coaching. What a run. Tom Moore was with the Vikings in the 90s, the Lions in the 90s, the Saints in 97. He was the Colts OC during some prime Peyton Manning years, 98 to 08. He was there until 2010. He went to the Jets, the Titans, the Cardinals, and now he's with the Buccaneers as an offensive consultant. The man has been around the block, 86 years old, young. Tom freaking Moore, with the face of a man who has been around the NFL long enough to see everything. All right, everybody, let's go watch Lions and Chiefs together, shall we? I will see you tomorrow morning on Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82. Okay, I'll see you in the morning for the morning show there. Let's watch Sunday Night Football together. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for new videos every day throughout the week. It's all football all the time. Football every day around here, okay? On this note, be good. Be good to one another. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Mad Dog Sports Radio. I'll see you on Sunday night for Watch DA Live again. For Aiden Hatton, I'm DA. Be good. And remember, double me. See you next time.